President Barack Obama is going to Congress today to formally propose military force against the Islamic State terrorist group. And Justin Trudeau thinks it's a great idea and that Prime Minister Stephen Harper should do the same thing.
President Barack Obama is certainly asking Congress to formalize or authorize war against Islamic State militants and says the group could threaten the U.S. homeland if it's left unchecked. Should we be doing the same here?
Yes. Certainly, the debate that should happen in Parliament needs to be informed, needs to be about the Prime Minister expressing clearly to Parliament and to Canadians what our intentions are, what our responsibilities are. And what we saw is that in the fall, he grossly misrepresented what Canadian soldiers were going to be doing over there. We're not having that kind of transparency. But the bottom line is Canada needs to be engaged as part of an international coalition against the Islamic State, pushing back against this terrorism that is a threat not just to the region, but to the entire world.
So he says that Harper should bring it to a vote. But wait a minute. I thought I remembered that Harper did bring this to Parliament. And it was Trudeau himself who was one of them calling for the debate.
Any mission overseas should have parliamentary debate and oversight, and that's certainly what's going on tonight with the emergency debate we called.
Well, maybe Boyd Trudeau would have a better memory of the vote if he had shown up for that emergency debate in the first place.
Why weren't you there?
First of all, I have tremendous confidence in the Liberal team, and I'm happy to be able to count on an extraordinary team of parliamentarians to put forward and explain the Liberals' position.
You want to be the Prime Minister. Should you not have been there?
Good question. Joining me now to try and make sense of exactly what Justin Trudeau wants is Sun News contributor Lauren Gunter. Hey, Lauren, Barack Obama wants to have a vote giving him military authority, and Justin Trudeau says we ought to do the same thing. I think he totally forgot that we had that debate and a vote before Obama did back in September. He didn't even show up for the debate after demanding it. I think that he doesn't actually care or know or follow the grown-up stuff. He's more expert at being a selfie photo taker, and he spends more time on his hair. Like, isn't this the most important file in Canada today, with the exception of the economy?
Yeah, I think it is. And you're absolutely right. I mean, in fact, he was instrumental in demanding an emergency debate in Parliament last fall, which the Prime Minister then granted. He doesn't have to grant that. I mean, after the Liberals sent us into Afghanistan following 9/11, and after they moved us to Kandahar province in 2005, 2006, without any parliamentary debate, the Library of Parliament was asked, can the government do that? Can the government commit Canadian troops to combat without asking Parliament? And the Library of Parliament, which is very unbiased, very objective, came back and said, absolutely. It is entirely, the power rests with the Queen, and it is exercised in Canada by the Governor-General in Council, which means the Cabinet, so the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. They do not have to ask Parliament for permission at all. Right. But Harper said, okay, fine, we're going to commit people to what is potentially dangerous mission in Syria and in Iraq, and so we will have the debate that Mr. Trudeau demands. And as you correctly pointed out, then Trudeau doesn't show up. Yeah. He asked for an emergency debate. I think he probably forgot that they had it because he was too busy out fundraising or cadging for votes or doing whatever it was that he was doing that was far more important to him than actually going to Parliament to debate this.
Yeah. You know, listening to that clip on the Winnipeg radio show, you can see how he fell into it, because the Winnipeg radio host said, don't you think we should do the same as Obama? So Trudeau said, oh, well, she's a news reporter. She's been following this closely, so she's probably right. She's certainly more sure of it than I am. So I can see how he would have fallen into that, because when your interviewer says, do you think we should do the same? Well, it's easy to say, yeah, let's follow Obama because he knows he likes Obama. In other words, he did not have this source of knowledge. He did not know enough. No. He was not confident enough to say, well, actually, Madam Reporter, we actually did have our vote. And I called for it. Like, he could have said, yeah, I called for it. But he was so unsure. This is so fleeting and so shallow for him. He deferred to some know-nothing's opinion because she was not as dumb as him.
Right. And you know, the other big thing in this interview, if you play it out longer, he says, we have in the Liberal Party supported our Canadian troops in this mission all along. I mean, they clearly did not. The reason he demanded the parliamentary debate was because he thought he could get Canadians behind him to say, let's not send any Canadian troops at all, not air, not ground, nothing. And he was wrong. And you can chart his decline in the polls from his stance over this issue. And so I think he's now remembering in his head something entirely different. I mean, they did not want to have Canadians there. And at most they wanted our troops to take over care packages and ration packs for refugees. And now he's trying to say, well, no, we believed it all along. Now, I mean, I've changed my own view about what we should be doing about ISIS. Back in the fall, I wasn't sure we even needed to send aircraft. But I think now that we do need to, as a Western coalition, send ground troops. And we just need to put an end to this as soon as possible before it metastasizes further. He could say that. He could say, look, last fall the situation was X. I said X. It's now Y. I think Y. I'm evolving my policies as we go, as the situation warrants. I mean, it's easy enough for people to accept that. Voters would say it's just human to change your mind if you get a new set of facts. Yeah. But now he's trying to recreate the old set of facts to match up with his current views. And, it's sort of a Winston Smith, George Orwell 1984 moment where you're rewriting history to fit the current party line.
Yeah. He is so dovish on anything to do with the military, anything to do with terrorism. He even hates saying the word jihad or Muslim terrorism. He tries so hard not to. I think he is so out of step with Canadians, even in Quebec. I saw a poll done by Leger the other day. 62% of Quebecers support our military role, and 74% of Quebecers support this new anti-terrorism bill. He is out of sync even with the most peacenik-y province in the country. That's how far left he is. Shades of his dad, who was always the shirker in NATO, who was always toying with dictatorships. Just like his dad, but he's not even as serious as his dad. He doesn't even know what he believed a few months ago. Last word to you, Lauren.
You bet. I mean, I worked in the government. People will find this shocking, perhaps. I was an executive assistant in the last Trudeau government. I worked for a minister who worked for Trudeau. And Trudeau I didn't agree with on most things, but he had intellectual heft. Justin has neither policies I agree with nor any kind of gravitas.
Yeah. He doesn't even remember what he stood for months ago, because it's not important to him. Just looking pretty is...
It's too far up his Twitter feed. He can't remember that many tweets ago.
Isn't that the truth? Lauren Gunter, thanks for joining us today from Edmonton. More Source.